The best way to describe Paper Mario the Origami King is by likening it to a dream vacation where everything goes great and then suddenly you get stabbed and nearly die. After that, you'll never remember the vacation for all the good things, you're always going to remember it as the time some maniac jabbed you and you nearly bit the dust. This is Paper Mario the Origami King, a game that does 9 out of 10 things perfectly, but then screws up so bad on the 10th and final note, it ruins the entire experience. For that reason, it's a game that's not worth buying, not worth playing, and most importantly, not worth any praise. Now that I've sufficiently gotten that out of my system, let's take a step back and be a bit more granular. Paper Mario the Origami King starts off on a good note. Like pretty much all other Paper Mario games, it seeks to subvert the classic power struggle by having Princess Peach abducted by someone other than Bowser. There's a special festival in town, you show up, Peach gets kidnapped, Bowser has nothing to do with it, and you set off to defeat the new villain who probably kicked aside the King of Koopas in the process. It all starts off well enough, and as the game progresses, plenty is done to keep things feeling fresh. The world design with a lovely papercraft and cardboard aesthetic drips with charm, the comedic writing is on point, exploration is fun, which helps to make finding all the strange nooks and crannies feel rewarding, and the constant change of scenery makes sure that none of your adventures feels too much the same. There's a lot done well here. Paper Mario the Origami King rides high on a lot of important points, including art style, world design, exploration, and a fair amount of character writing. Thus, it's a real shame that the battle system in this game is such utter and complete trash that it ruins everything, which makes it enjoyable. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not averse to new and different changes that can spice up an old formula. I understand the Paper Mario franchise has a dedicated following, but I've only ever played the first game, and even then it was nearly 20 years ago when I did. What I'm getting at is how I'm not yearning for some days of yore where things were better. I just know a terrible battle system when I'm forced to interact with it over the course of an entire game. Combat here is just a big, hot, nasty disaster class mess. The turn-based battle system is first centered around Mario being significantly outnumbered. This is where the battle dartboard enters. Mario is at the center of a dartboard that functions as a sliding puzzle. While solving this puzzle, you have a time limit and a limited number of moves to both slide rows and rotate rings to line up the enemies. If you do this successfully, your damage goes up by 50%. Then, regardless of your success solving the puzzle, you have as many sequential attacks as there are groups of enemies you can hit at once. The problem here is how unnecessarily complex this all makes random battles. Get into a fight, frantically try to solve a puzzle on a timer. Okay, good, now the timer is stopped so you can choose your attacks. Now, time extra button presses for each attack to get even more damage. Then, fail to kill all the enemies despite getting all of your timing perfect. Now, you get assaulted by a small army of enemies. One of the baddies calls for backup. You now have as many enemies as there were at the start. Get another time puzzle and hope they don't make it absurdly difficult to solve in 40 seconds. Eventually, you finish the battle down way more HP than you really should be for one single encounter. And your reward? Coins. That's it. Just coins, no experience, no prizes, no getting stronger, just an absurdly over-complex battle for coins. This is where insult is added to injury. The battle system serves no purpose. The entire idea behind having a turn-based system in RPGs this day and age is to have strategy, so that the combat is a bit more like playing chess and less about reaction time. That's the reason turn-based RPGs, by and large, have moved in the direction of having a set order and not some active time system. To that end, the strategy derives a lot of its nuance not only from leveling up, but from having a large number of ways to augment character abilities. Leveling, skill stats, special abilities, these are standard in turn-based RPGs for very good reasons. Random battles usually serve the purpose of getting stronger and earning money, but here in Paper Mario the Origami King, all of that is just tossed out since leveling up doesn't exist. Sure, you spend coins to buy stronger weapons, but those weapons break after hardly a handful of uses. But that's not all, because the game is puking coins at you outside of battle at every other turn. Thus, what purpose do random battles serve? None. There's no impetus to get into a tussle if you already have the money to buy better weapons that will only break shortly after you use them. Thus, you buy what you need to beat the next boss and then avoid all enemy encounters because they don't benefit you at all. As an aside, the more exploration you do, the more you're penalized by being forced into more random encounters that again serve no mechanical purpose to further the game. The only way you get stronger, outside of buying breakable weapons, is through exploration and searching for crystal hearts that increase your max HP. These health increases are really the only reason to deal with random encounters, but even then, the battles themselves are just in the way of the power-ups. You don't get power from battling. Something else that serves to prove that the normal battle encounters are totally useless are the boss battles. Boss battles are unique in how they flip the battle dartboard, putting the big baddie at the center and Mario on the outside. Then, you have to manipulate the rings to create an arrow path to reach the boss, most often to attack a specific weak spot. This system isn't terrible because it's a far more simple puzzle and the time limit to solve it is more generous. The biggest thing it does though is serve to prove that the standard battle system is even more useless. Not only are the normal encounters pointless for everything already covered, but it's not even worth getting good at because the boss battles play by a significantly different set of rules. It doesn't end there though, as the battle mechanic is further proven pointless because there are a series of world bosses who you just engage in real time. It's like the developers were trying to avoid this god-awful idea of normal battles in the way they designed them. At this point, it seems Paper Mario only has a turn-based battle system in it because someone said to the development team that it has to be there. It was in the first game and pretty much every game since, so it's necessary to drag this sack of dead rotten familiar features to every party, even though the developers don't even seem to want to touch them. So much of this game could be far better if Nintendo would just make their minds up about whether they want to make a turn-based RPG or an action-adventure game. As it stands, they're just walking in two different directions, and the part they clearly don't want to have anything to do with at this point is marring the rest of the experience. Paper Mario, the Origami King, has so much going for it, and then it just gets ruined. There's great world design, satisfying exploration, and the writing is pretty witty, even though there are some shallow and disrespectful attempts to tug at your heartstrings. It's just the terrible and obtuse combat system that makes everything awful by constantly showing up. It's so clearly bad that even the developers seem to be running away from it throughout the game. Now, I don't give games numbered scores, but in this case I'll make an exception. It's not worth buying, it's not worth playing. This is a game where one thing has so thoroughly ruined the rest of the experience that I struggle to muster a 3 out of 10 stars. I'll return to what I said at the start of this video. The best way to describe Paper Mario, the Origami King, is by likening it to a dream vacation, where everything goes great and then suddenly you get stabbed and nearly die. This is not a game you'll remember for what it did right. You'll just remember the god-awful combat that completely ruined it. Now that my Salt Fest is over, I'll just take this moment to say that if you want more of what just happened here, you can support me over at strife.solutions. Subscribing also helps, and if you want, there's sure to be a nice video on the screen to tap. You can also check me out on Twitch, where you'll find my stream schedule. Links in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening. I'm William Strife, and I'll see you later.